Welcome, Bulldog fans, to Jordan-Hare Stadium, the home of the 7th-ranked Auburn Tigers and the scene of Mississippi State's game today. Both teams 1-0 SEC West coming in, a game with a lot of stakes. Auburn, of course, has championships and playoffs on their mind right now. The Bulldogs, after defeating Kentucky, want to get their SEC win streak going with the first-ever road game. But, Steve, we still don't know. The question of the day, we don't know who the starter is.
No, we don't. But there is some reason to believe that Tommy Stevens is healthy. He did make the trip. Told that it would be a game-time decision, but the information on Thursday was that he had participated in practice and was a full participant in the final practices of the week. So we do expect it to, at the very least, be a toss-up. Garrett Schrader has played exceptionally well for Mississippi State. However, when Tommy Stevens was in against UL Lafayette and with Southern Miss, the Bulldogs were simply a more formidable offense.
And I think it's unusual, to say the least, that a true freshman already has more SEC starting experience than a graduate transfer senior. Yes, odd circumstances, but still a little kind of quirky fact of this game. Now, depending on who is in there, does it change State's offense at all, or do you see some tendencies going one way or the other?
Well, I think you're a little more pass-heavy with Stevens in the ballgame. I think you run enough to be honest, but at the same time, when Schrader's in the ballgame, I think you are a lot more like last year's offense. I think you're going to run a lot more zone read, quarterback power, that sort of stuff. With Stevens in there, I think you're going to attack down the field a bit more. And if he is healthy, and we hear that he is much closer to 100% than he was in the Kansas State game, with this Auburn secondary, a little bit inexperienced, I think it gives the Bulldogs a puncher's chance.
Like I said, we will be updating our story, not the video, but the story, as any news comes available. In fact, probably right now they're passing out the sheet in their press box telling us guys who we don't expect to be available. Willie Gay was seen at his high school game last night, so we're pretty safe. I don't expect Lee Alter to play as well. So the Bulldog defense is one of those calculated gambles because Auburn, a run-heavy offense with kind of a little bit of passing element thrown in now. But it's a confident offense after scoring what they did against Texas A&M last week.
Well, and some of the luster on that win has probably been shaken off today with Arkansas nearly taking A&M down. And here's the deal about that. You know, anytime you go on the road and win in this league, it is a big deal. But I know that this comes as a shocker to many of our Mississippi State family, but I believe Texas A&M might have been a tad overrated. And I think the big part of that A&M and Arkansas game today, I think it's a win-win for Joe Moorhead and Mississippi State. Because it shows that Texas A&M is beatable, but it also shows that you can't take anybody for granted, even that road game at Arkansas.
So we'll find out more as it goes on, which players are available, unavailable for today. Injury-wise, other than Stevens, probably who should play, we think, or could play, should be in pretty good physical shape. Now, Auburn's defense, they're an interesting factor. Like you said, the secondary maybe have some vulnerabilities that maybe an improved Bulldog receiver corps could take advantage of. But again, that relies on Stevens being able to throw. But if you don't have the run element quarterback, it kind of puts you behind the 8 ball. So kind of a guessing game maybe. Is it possible State could play both quarterbacks today?
Yeah, I think anything is possible. And honestly, I think Joe Moorhead has enjoyed keeping everybody guessing. Because not only has he kept us guessing and our fans guessing, but he's also kept the opponents a little bit unsure. So they've had to prepare for both quarterbacks. And no matter what anybody says, anybody that's an observer of this team understands, we're a lot more pass happy when Tommy Stevens is in the ball game. We're much more of a ground and pound team with Schrader, and that should be the case. You've got a grad transfer, senior, and you've got a true freshman quarterback. And so you're going to dance with the one that brung you, David, and that's what we're going to do now. And I think with Tommy Stevens in there, the Bulldogs become a little more balanced because we know what Colin Hill can do. And last year, Colin Hill had one of his best games of the year, ran for 123 yards in a 349 ground game effort for Mississippi State. I think State will come out looking to establish the running game, but I think the fact that Tommy Stevens is there prevents Auburn from really selling out on the run.
And today matches the 2 top rushers in the SEC. Colin Hill, of course, leading the league not only in rushing but in all-purpose offense. And Auburn coming back with Whitlow, who is averaging just over 100 yards per game. So 2 teams that like to run the ball a lot. So maybe a game where the clock moves pretty quickly here with a 6:05 kickoff there. What is State's big challenge defensively besides keeping a corner on that Auburn run game?
Well, I mean, I think the linebackers have to play exceptionally well because you're going to have to slow down that running game, but you also have to be aware of the play-action pass. Bo Nix is a rising star in this league. Talked to Mark Murphy, our good friend with Inside the Auburn Tigers, before I came to the stadium. He says that the young Nix is better than Pat Nix. He said he's a better athlete than Pat, a better runner. And so they're not going to have Mississippi State, Dan Mullen, zone read type scheme, but he is a guy that can extend plays with his legs and is more mobile as a quarterback than perhaps his father was. But the game has changed a lot since then, and we expect him to have a big ball game. But I think what you have to do in this game is put the game in his lap and make him throw the football.
And potential trivia today. I don't know the answer, so don't put me to this, but Auburn made a big deal about it. First true freshman starting since the 60s for them in an SEC game. Mississippi State, of course, had a true freshman starting for the first time in a decade. When's the last time two SEC teams put two true freshmen on the field at the same time at quarterback? That's for Chuck Dunlap and the whole crew at the SEC office start looking up. But by tonight, we'll have a better idea of what's happened, obviously. Kickoff 6:05. Steve and I will be talking about what Coach Joe Moorhead and the players have to say afterwards, and then getting back and ready for an open date, which I think we can both use at this point. So tune in afterwards. We'll have a lot to talk about for sure, but follow us. Robbie Falk will be keeping our live thread on genespage.com during the course of the game. I'll be working on Twitter. Steve will be working the sidelines. Mike Nemeth will have our flash story back in Starkville. Paul Jones is tracking recruit comments and reactions to games like this. So the full crew is busy because it's SEC football today here at Jordan-Hare Stadium on the plains of Auburn. For Steve Robertson, this is David Murray.